Hi again, everyone. Taikenzor again. So, as we stated in the last video, well, as I stated in the last video, it's really just me, that we were going to use for a single drawing and add both a tone and a highlight without any additional drawing. So, I took out the highlight and the tone, as you can see from previously, and I only have the bone going through the tone and then the highlight. And it really doesn't matter which way they go. You can use both the highlight and the tone interchangeably, so it doesn't have to be tone before it goes to highlight. It could be highlight before it goes into the tone and the composite. So what we're going to do is a new module, which is actually a move module in the library. Actually uses the peg to help it, and what it kind of does is that it will take this drawing as an input as well as a peg, and it will treat it as though it was another drawing, except that drawing itself can be moved without affecting the original position of the first drawing. Doesn't sound like I'm making sense, but let me just show you and we'll get through from there. We're going to actually use two of them. I'm going to demonstrate what it looks like with one first, which is why you probably won't be using one when you're doing it. You probably need to use two. So we're going to go to our module library, and I've already gone to the move tab. So we have our peg, and we're also going to be using the apply peg transformation. So we're going to drag one of those over here. It's kind of long, isn't it? And I'm not going to drag a peg from here. I'm just going to use this as a, well, okay, fine, I'll drag a peg. So back to our camera view, we have our little bow. So here's what I'm going to do. As you can see, we have three inputs. We have this one for the drawing. Usually the one with the dot there shows you what you want to use to affect, to be affected. So what we're going to be using is, we're going to use our bone, and the bone is actually going to go inside. What it might look like over here is two pegs, but I'm just going to use the one at the extreme left. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to attach this to the tone. Now right away you see that the tone is done, because it's actually using this bone as its own tone. If I zoom in, you might see some little burring on the edges there. So what I'm going to actually show you is me moving the peg. So I'm going to click on the peg, and I'm going to my translate tool here for my animation. Move this in the center a little more, and I'm just going to move this down a bit. It's going to look like there's a highlight, but it's actually, this is actually the original color of the bow. This dark area here going on is the actual tone. So if I actually went to tone, I could say I'll invert the matte, and it will look like up the top is toned out and everywhere else is the original color. So in a case like this, you would, for example, use the tone inverted like this. For those of you who use like software such as Photoshop or something, it might give you like a slightly beveled effect, so maybe that's something you might want to look forward to. Might want to or not. But that depends on you. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to reattach this same drawing where highlight is, and you're going to see highlight basically in the same spot where the tone is not. Reason being, highlight has not been inverted, so tone has been inverted, so you still see the tone along here, but the highlight is going on the top. Because to invert the highlight, it would kind of try to mix them both at the same time. So it's not like there's a tone going on, but we're trying to highlight the tone. Well, you don't want that, so get something like this. Now this is why you probably need two of these as well as another peg. So I'm going to detach that, and I'm going to drag in two more of these, back to a module library, another peg, and another apply peg transformation, back to our camera view. Let's order this around a bit because it looks kind of untidy. Control A. I'm going to bring up my network view, and I'm just going to tidy that up a bit. So as you know, hold my pepper still there. And now I'm going to put my peg up top here as well as this. And you might be able to guess what goes in here. That's right, the bone drawing. So I'm going to put the bone back in here again. You notice I have not detached it, so it's kind of like we have 1, 2, 3 drawings going on, but it's still the same one. Only thing is that we're using the peg to move it. So we attach the peg here and reapply this into our highlight, except now we're going to have 2 pegs to control this thing. So we have this peg here for the tone. So let's move this one. Tone down below. And now for the peg for the highlight. Let's move this up in the center again. I'm going to carry this up a bit, or rather bring it down a notch. But this time we're going to change the properties of the highlight. We're going to invert it. So now we have a highlight going on here and a tone going on here, as well as keeping our original color. So how we achieve this is we have to invert one of them. Okay, so in this case we have the highlight inverted. I could switch them around and show you, so I'll not invert the highlight, but I will invert the tone. Oh, it's already inverted. So we got something like this. Well then, that looks kind of nice. So now we're going to highlight on the bottom and the tone at the top. So invert and it goes back to what it was before. Now of course we could probably add another peg to these things and do the rotation thing that we were looking at before. So let's try that out. Add a peg to this peg, bring this up top, and let this peg be in charge of those 2 pegs. The only thing is I'm going to rotate it, and hopefully we'll get the desired effect that I was talking about. Say what it is like this. Well, whoops. Alright, I haven't attached the bone to it too, so let's try that again. So it's kind of awkward, as you can see. There's doubly rotation going on there. I suppose some things just can't be done for us at the time, but hopefully kind of get the gist of how this is done. So say what to do this. Actually, affect the actual drawing. You still have the same desired effect. So let me just remove this peg here. We got these 2 here. So what I could do is undo that. I did with the drawing before. I'm going to remove this peg and I'm going to add a peg to the actual drawing. So now it's a bone peg. Get rid of this. And now I'm going to rotate the bone itself. And so we have the desired effect that we wanted. So now the highlight, regardless of which direction I rotate the bone, is going to be at the top. So if we do something like this, we still have that lighting at the top and the shadow at the bottom. Put it upside down. Same effect. Okay, so that's it there. So if you wanted to do something like an animated bone being tossed in mid-air, we could do something like that. So I'll just do that now, just so we get an effect or understanding of how to animate these things. Come on, or render view now. So what I'm going to do is I am going to extend my timeline for this bone, which means it runs for so long, right? And because it's not like I'm using other drawings, I don't have to extend other drawing layers. I can just do the one bone and it will extend for all of them because it's just this one bone using for the highlight and the tone. Alright, so let's animate this with our bone peg. And I'll probably just scale this down a bit using the scale tool. Okay, that looks hugely beveled now. I guess that's one thing you have to look out for. Or we could just not bevel it, not reduce the size. So right here I have a keyframe. I'll just, drag this over here and then come over to the last place and add another keyframe plus KF. Just drag this over here. Only thing is that I'm just going to rotate this a bunch of times. So I'm going to rotate this. Oh, I need to change the center point for this peg. So we got a good effect going on. So let's put it in the center. And now we got something like this. So I'm trying to rotate this a bunch of times. So it's going to look like it's being tossed while rotating. So it's going to look something like this. And of course, from previous videos, I'm going to move the camera. So I'm going to add a camera layer. Click on the plus, add a camera. I'm just going to use that camera instead of scaling the bone. I'm just going to use the camera to just enlarge the camera so it looks like I'm zooming. So it won't have to affect the highlight. And of course, I could probably move my camera over a bit. I'm not sure if this works properly. So let's play this out and see what it looks like. Right. I guess for the camera itself, a keyframe doesn't work unless you add a peg. So I'm just going to add a peg to it instead. We're going to camera peg. I can add my keyframes to it here and there. So we're going to have something like this. Toss that bone. Grab the camera back like so. So it's going to look like our bone got tossed in the air. So let's play that out and see how it looks with the camera mask. First, probably want to move this camera a little bit more out of the way. Oops. How big is this? Okay, that's a little mistake there. Let's do this one last time. Add a peg to my camera peg. Mean a keyframe, another keyframe. Move this from point A, say from here, to point B, which is off screen. So then when we play it, should look something like this. Okay? And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pause it. It's probably gonna take a while for my computer to render it, so you won't have to worry about that. So I'm just gonna render this in a few seconds for you guys. Okay. So we're going to quickly bake this and I'll see you in a few seconds. Welcome back. It's done rendering. And so here's what we got. Right? So we got a bone being tossed. So that's pretty much it for using a single drawing to apply your tone and your highlight. So let's just look at the network one more time, just so we kind of get it. Starting from the top with the drawing. So we have our bone drawing. We're bring these things a little closer to each other so you can see their attachments. So as stated before, it's just that you'd add a peg to each one of these and pretty much add a peg to these, apply peg transformation in case you want to move the shadings individually, kind of like this over here, right? So that's pretty much it. So peg to the drawing, and the drawing itself goes through each of the apply peg transformations, and you'd add pegs to each of these apply peg transformations. That way you can move the shading and the highlights around. You get your corresponding modules, your tone module and your highlight, and as I was saying before, you don't need to have them in this order, you could have them switched around. So you reconnect them to the composite, add your color card if you want to, and you're pretty much done. So I hope this has inspired you to shade your stuff. So I don't know if you actually went out of your way and you did something like a rigged character walking along, you can actually add highlights and shading to that character. Of course, I don't expect you to try and add these things to every single one of your drawings because there's a much easier way of doing it. So I'm going to try and make a video of that. And so I hope you learned something here today. Remember again, practice, practice, practice. No one builds a pizza in 1 minute. It takes time to prepare the ingredients and then the baking. So take care and God bless. Bye.